Next, let me welcome to the stage Heleen van den Hombergh, Senior Agrocommodities Advisor at IUCN, the Netherlands. Welcome, Heleen.
Deforestation. They all have different definitions, so what should we do? It's so costly, so complex. If we're too demanding, it will all go to China. Europe's role has been shrinking anyway.
Credits are seen as green.
Legal compliance is already difficult enough.
Doesn't understand.
It's a golden standard.
I'm all for it.
Toss on the horizon.
Human doesn't understand.
Doesn't it all come from the US these days?
Physical
Not a
streams.
problem.
But there is no physical
Certification will never do the job.
Move forward.
We'll need whole
It's not available.
We need to get
Not available.
We need to get producers. We need to get
There's no demand.
with the step guides. Stepwise.
Credits
Let's
are
get
seen
real.
as green.
If we're too demanding, screw up our business. Let's get real. If we're too demanding, screw up our business.
Customer doesn't understand.
They should move first now before we make the next step.
It's too costly.
They should move first before we make the next step.
It's too costly. It's too complex. 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 It's too costly. It's too complex.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. There's so many reasons not to act while 2020 is approaching, as you just heard. There's so many reasons why not to go for deforestation-free responsible soy. When I was in Argentina a couple of years ago, I already showed this picture during another roundtable meeting in Brazil. I saw this soy which was totally dried out. And now we know that the Chaco is already a very climate-vulnerable environment. But it's also the lack of care for natural capital that results in failing harvests. So, I think, and many of you will share that idea, there's many more reasons to speed up action, to make deforestation-free responsible soy a reality. Healthy harvests, climate-resilient agriculture, as had just been mentioned, and also space for nature, wildlife, and other biodiversity. So, my speech of today is called Speeding Up Sustainable Soy, from slow starter to success story, and I hope to give some evidence for a call for different stakeholders today. I want to use the evidence from 3 reports that we published recently. One is an analysis of existing laws on forest protection in the main soy-producing countries in Latin America, being Brazil, Argentina, and Paraguay. Together with IDH, the European Soy Monitor, mapping the value chain of soy in Europe and how far this has been covered by standards to control illegal deforestation and how far it is controlled by standards that can claim to be deforestation-free. And underlying that report and supportive to that one is a benchmark study that we did, and today is the final version is ready, setting the bar for deforestation-free soy in Europe. It is comparing the different FEFAC soy sourcing guidelines compliance standards, which are 18. Is it sufficient to go for legal compliance only? Our study reveals that, yes, law offers protection, surely, in the 3 countries that I just mentioned. But still up to 110 million hectares can be legally deforested. And many more, many more, grassland and savanna areas converted in Brazil, Argentina, and Paraguay alone. It is about 8 times the whole footprint of Europe that can still be deforested. Legal compliance is a challenge, on top of that. Everywhere, I mean not only in these 3 countries, but surely everywhere where soy comes from. So controlling legal compliance is relevant, but it's not enough for a deforestation and conversion-free policy. The Amsterdam Declaration Partnership and so many other pledges want to go for deforestation-free value chains. How far are we still from that target? Before I move into that, I'd like to give some overview of what we think are essential elements for good governance of soy and other commodities. Chain responsibility, resource efficiency, and landscape governance. Policy and law self-evidently have an important role to play both in producing and in importing countries. Enabling finance and also breaking the wall of disabling finance that still invests in and lends to unsustainable commodities. Green finance, but also regular finance being greened. Consumption patterns for our European soy use of 40 million soybean equivalents per year, at least in 2017. We have a footprint of 14 million hectares of soy. Is that sustainable on the long run, almost for feed alone? Do we have to look into other production models that are more efficient, more land efficient, because we need more land, we need more food, as you just mentioned. Then capacity building of all the stakeholders, including producers, including suppliers, including end users. Land use planning, very important. Soy can come up to this point, and after that, it is high biodiversity grasslands, forests, riverine vegetation, steep slopes or whatever, but we need to set the limits. Then monitoring of this all, self-evidently in the field. Then last not least, of course, commodity standards have an important role to play in this whole set of governance measures. And we think it's often underestimated, the role that they can play, because they are a very important element of setting the standard, literally, but also to control on a set of integrated norms. We're not only talking about deforestation or conversion, although it's a very important theme, but we're also talking about other responsibility issues. So commodity standards and the control they exert is important as oil on the wheel of governance, we think, an important element in the control of it. The European Soy Monitor revealed that in 2017, only 22% of the soy that we use in Europe was verified by FEFAC soy sourcing guidelines compliant standards, 18 standards, as far as our information was reaching, because we can say that also transparency is an issue, transparency to get the data on the table. We did our best, helped by Profundo, who did their best to get all the data on the table. 22% FEFAC verified. And if we look at the deforestation-free standards under the FEFAC family, you could say, it's only 13%, possibly a bit up, possibly up to 15% if we look at the figures, but 13 to 15% verified deforestation-free soy in Europe. Then our third study, setting the bar for deforestation-free soy. We did a benchmark of these standards. One provision looked at, is the standard not allowing any deforestation? We wanted to be very clear, what is a deforestation-free standard? Then, does it avoid conversion in all kinds of ways? So criteria on high conservation value areas and other conservation criteria. So 9 criteria on that and 5 additional minor criteria on that in our benchmark. Then does it protect wetlands? Also often forgotten in the whole discourse. 3 provisions on that and 2 minor provisions on that. And then what it is its level of assurance, which is the quality and quantity of verification. 8 provisions on that, plus 2 additional minor ones. And because some of you may not be familiar with the level of assurance ideas, I just want to mention some examples for you to give an idea of what we mean by that. Producers are certified by independent third-party certification bodies. Certificates are valid for no more than 5 years, after which a new full certification audit is required. Certification bodies are required to conduct annual or more frequent surveillance audits of certificate holders. Certification bodies are required to proactively consult with affected stakeholders during both certification and surveillance audits. Certification bodies shall have an easily accessible and responsive complaint system and shall ensure that certification bodies have a complaint system in place. Producers applying for certification are required to commit to a time-bound plan for certification of all farm units under their control. And certificate holders are required to rectify non-compliance identified during certification and surveillance within a time frame of not more than 1 year. And severe non-compliance items are rectified in a time-bound way. So this is quite a list of requirements to be able to claim sustainability within a standard. Then the first question, what could be called a deforestation-free standard? Please read our study for the details. But we came out with RTRS, ISSC+, Proterra, Donau and Europe Soy, SFAP, non-conversion. They have also a conversion standard or a standard that doesn't prohibit conversion. And then CRS and BFA, CRS being the standard of the CEFETRA. And BFA has adopted it, the Belgium Feed Association. So how do they, let's say, relate to other standards in the FEFAC family? Can you read this? Yeah. Up, right, the RTRS being, let's say, a market leader of quality, you could say, on both standards level of assurance, that's the axis, the horizontal axis, and the vertical axis is the forest wetlands and biodiversity provisions. So RTRS is up there, and ISSC is a little greener. It has 1 point more on the green stuff, and it is followed by SFAP, non-conversion, the CRS and Europe Soy. And Proterra is also doing very well on the green. Criteria has to do a bit of improvements on standards level of assurance. Then, for example, of the standards that do not prohibit deforestation in general, but do require legality, Amagi is doing very well on the level of assurance. For example, what they demand is that landowners certify all the units under their control within a time-bound frame, which is an exception in this world of standards, so which is very good. And the other ones are also having important roles. As a disclaimer, I'd like to say that all these standards have an important role to play, and that FEFAC has done a great job also in improving some of the standards requirements to be able for them to be part of the approved standards under their guidelines. So there already has been some improvements on some of the standards, which is important to recognize. Still, we think we should move upright in continuous improvement, and you have the choice, let's say, to support these kind of standards. Indeed, more is produced than is bought right now. So, RTRS, ISSC Plus doing very well. Proterra and Donau Europe Soy have an important role in the physical non-GM supply, both from Brazil and in Europe. And the other standards also have important roles to play, possibly as stepping stones towards stronger standards or become more strong themselves. So, I'd like to end with some recommendations, and that is to some traders and standards. Please be more transparent about your standards. Publish them on your website. You can't imagine how difficult it was for some to get hold of some standards, to just look at them and benchmark them, or and also to see where are the locations, what are the volumes, what are the destinations. It was a hard job, so transparency really is lacking and it should be improved. To retail, set the bar on well-verified deforestation and conversion-free responsible soy, and invest in risk landscapes. We'll hear a very interesting example of Little and Maranhão today. Your choice, in the end, is our choice. Financial sector. I was very happy in March to see that 57 investors covering $6.3 trillion in assets made a statement on the expectations they have from companies to eliminate deforestation from the soy trade chain. They include Robeco, APG, asset managers, etc. here today. You can also make use of well-verified deforestation and conversion-free responsible soy standards for your investments and landing. And, as you also said this morning, you can mobilize green finance for risk landscapes to help conservation and restoration. European governments, we need you to show a good example with green public procurement. Have a strong EU deforestation action plan in place, including regulation for minimum requirements of production and import. Have national action plans and laws to make this happen. And certainly, last not least, support to producing countries to produce sustainably and green diplomacy, helping also other importing countries such as China to do a better job in sustainability. Speed up, let's speed up. Let's connect our roads to Rome, or I say Brussels, where laws are made. But if legislation is going to be there, it still needs the producers, the traders, it still needs the retailers and the financial sectors to act. So I think only together we can achieve sustainable soy. If you want to Google our reports, just Google IUCN NL deforestation-free soy. Thank you very much for your attention.